video on how to do an oil change on a Jeep JK. It's very simple to do, it's very easy to do. If you're someone that's paying for oil changes, you're throwing money away. This isn't a difficult thing to do. I'd say level 1 beginner. So if you're interested in saving some money, this is for you. Thing I don't skip on with my Jeep is getting quality oil. So I typically go for the extended performance, high mileage Mobil One, and then you'll have to get the extra quart. So there we go. Now I need to go get a filter. Love me some Lowe's. Such a pretty color. Love that place. Woo! Look at those stripes. Take those all day, folks. All day. I highly recommend, if you're doing an oil change, when you get back with your oil, to let your Jeep just sit and rest for a little bit so it can get cold, because otherwise that oil is going to be pretty darn hot. When you get home, let it sit, let it cool off, and then you can get to going on that oil change. One of the major benefits to doing an oil change yourself is you know what you're putting in your engine. I always use Mobil One. The reason I use Mobil One is I've always been told it's the nectar of the gods, so that's what I use on my Jeep. So I always do a full synthetic. I do the best I can put in there, just because it's a high mileage vehicle and I want to make sure this thing runs for a long time. So my Jeep does run real smooth. I try to keep up on that maintenance. Oil changes are one of those simple things that you want to do consistently and make sure that you're doing it regularly to make sure that your vehicle is running at its best. So definitely something I recommend doing. This is how I do it. You don't need much to do an oil change. This is literally it. I have a tool that I use to get the oil filter off. Sometimes it gets stuck on there a little bit over time. Need a new oil filter. 6 quarts of oil. I use 5W20 full synthetic, high mileage, extended performance, Mobil One, the nectar of the gods. And then a Fram air filter. If I'm already in there, I might as well swap out the air filter. And then something to catch the oil. A funnel is also helpful, because you'll see here in a second, the JK is kind of tricky if you're gonna just try to pour these straight in there. So I definitely recommend a funnel of some kind. Paper towel is also helpful. So if you spill any oil, you have a way to clean it up. So that's pretty much all you need to be able to do it. It doesn't take long to complete the process once you start. Let's get into it. So swapping out your air filter is a very easy thing to do. You just unclip 4 clips. And once you undo the clips, you just lift the air intake cover off and you'll see the old filter. Just take it, throw it out, then take your new filter, set it in. And when you go to set it in, the trickiest part is going to be getting the cover back on. So it takes a little bit of finagling to get it in there. And once you get it in there, it's again 4 clips. So just take your time. You do have to get your fingers kind of into a tight little crevice there to get it, but you should hear it pop. When you hear it pop, you'll know that you got it back on. So it's a real easy thing to do. People pay people to do that. I don't even want to know how much that would cost to do it at a dealer or a mechanic, but you can save yourself a lot of money just doing it yourself. So I recommend, if you're doing an oil change, you might as well swap out the air filter while you're there. So to point something out right off the bat, this is going to be the cap or where you're gonna pour in the oil. On the cap, it's always gonna say what type of oil they recommend. And so basically what I like to do before I start anything is I just open this cap up. Make sure you put the cap somewhere where you're not gonna, drop it into your engine compartment, because that can be a pain in the butt to go dig out. But I like to loosen it up just to, create a pathway of air all the way through the engine. So when I take the screw out of the bottom, the oil can flow freely. Welcome to Under the Jeep. Taking a look here, just real quick, this is your oil pan. Here's your oil plug. This is what we have to remove to get the oil out. So it's really just take the plug off, catch the oil into the pan. Once it's done draining, then we'll put the plug back in. So it's a really easy process under here. I do recommend bringing a piece of paper towel because you do tend to get a little bit of oil splashing around. So should be a pretty easy process. So just put your wrench on. Remember, you're gonna go towards the passenger side to get the bolt off. Catch pan, and there you go. And that's it. Now, you don't have to wait on every drop of oil to be out of there. I would say that I let probably a little more come out than I normally do. But just give it a good wipe down, then get your oil plug. And I'd like to clean it off real quick. And then you just put it right back in. And then typically I like to wipe it down with that paper towel just to make sure there's no drip still up there, because I don't want to think I have an oil leak down the road. So just make sure it's nice and clean, there's no oil on it. And then just take your wrench and tighten it back down. If it was towards the passenger side to make it loose, then you gotta go towards the driver's side to tighten down. And you just make sure it's snug, but not too tight, because you gotta be able to take it off down the road. And again, just make sure there's no extra oil dripping. Next thing I do is I kind of slide the oil pan that way, because the next thing to do is remove the oil filter. Let's go. So I'm gonna start off by showing you where the oil filter is. It is right here. It's pretty easy to get into with the JK. You can pretty much reach there with your hand. You can see underneath it the oil pan. So I'm just gonna kick it a little bit just to make sure it's a little more underneath the oil filter. And then at that point, it's just a matter of taking it out of there. So I like to just see if I can get it with my hand at first, because sometimes you can just take it off. Nope. So this one I'm gonna have to use the tool. So give me a minute. All right, so there's the oil filter right here. So it's just a matter of grabbing it and rotating it to get it off. So you just get in there, get a grip with it, and then turn it again towards the passenger side. At this point, you can just take it off with your hand. Try to keep as much oil in it as possible, but that's how you remove the oil filter. I take the new filter. What I like to do is just get a little bit of this old oil off the old one. You can see it's on my finger, and then just put it on the gasket. And that keeps the gasket from sticking to the motor when you put it back on. So I reach back in there with the new filter and find the spot where the old one was. And then once you have that, it should screw right into place, just like that. So you don't want to go too tight with it, because you don't want to mess up the gasket on the filter. So you just get nice hand snug, wipe off any extra oil that might be on there. And then at that point, your filter is on. So here's another angle from the bottom of where you'll find the oil filter. You can see there's some oil on the bottom edge there, so I like to get that wiped up. There's also some oil right here, so I get that wiped up as well. But after that, the filter is on, the oil plug is back on, the oil pan that's right here So at this point, it's just a matter of putting in the new oil and I'm done. So once you've gotten your plug back in and your oil filter on, come back up to the top, remove the oil cap, put in the funnel, make sure you've cleaned your funnel, and then at that point it's just a matter of putting in the new oil. Once you're done filling up with oil, just remove your funnel and replace the cap. And again, you're just making it snug to the finger and you're all done. All right, real quick, this is how you reset your oil light. Put your key in the ignition, turn to accessories, pump your gas pedal 3 times, and then start it up. If you like what you saw, make sure you hit the subscribe button, that like button, and stay tuned for more content. Catch you later.